and welcome to a very special edition of Vogue Uncut. This is the Nix in Vogue edition, and I am Emily, the Associate Beauty Editor, and today we're going to be talking about something really exciting, and that's the future of beauty. Joining me today is Liz Bacelar, the creator of the Global Tech Innovation Team. So Liz, thank you so much for being here. I heard you just came down to have a keynote for the Nix in Vogue panel. So tell me more about that. What did you talk about?
It was really, really cool. It was very interactive. I love the energy in the room. Mm-hmm. We started going through a journey on how to go through cutting through the noise. There's so much innovation that's happening around us the past 4 years. And then in the past year or so, hyper accelerated with all the AI that's going on. So I took the audience through my way of tapping into your own strategy or your own objectives to help you navigate it, identify what makes sense to you. And before you pull the trigger on anything, take a moment to educate yourself. There's this notion sometimes that I see in fashion businesses and in beauty businesses that people that are running the businesses, they don't have to hold the knowledge of the technology. Okay. They can actually push that job to someone else, whether it's a consultant or an agency. I think these days are over. People in charge need to make time for learning, especially here around AI, to understand the different kinds of technologies around them so they can make smart business decisions. And this stuff sounds complicated, but everyone can learn this. It just takes dedication.
Yeah, and I think it would be great to have more awareness surrounding AI because I feel like the surface level knowledge is kind of like AI is taking our jobs. AI is a plague on the creative industry.
If you let it, I feel that if you use AI without the foundational knowledge, you can put yourself out of a job, even as a creator, right? If you understand, and there's so much knowledge about prompting that it's pretty pervasive today. If you want to learn about complex prompting, there's different ways to understand of how to make the model to really do what you want it to do. You get really good at it and understand that that's a tool for brainstorming, for creativity. It's a bridge. Like, I'm not a visually creative person, but I'm a good editor. I use AI a lot to communicate a brief to a team. Sometimes I can't quite explain the terms that they use, but now with AI I can. And I'm not replacing the creative. I'm actually giving them better intelligence to do better creative. And I feel it's more about that and understanding that this is a tool.
Right.
And the part that's really replacing, in a way, is like the agent part of AI.
Okay.
That repetitive question and answering that a chatbot can
ChatGPT.
do. Right? So imagine like agents that you have on phone calls answering the same questions day in, day out. That part of the conversation, anything that's repetitive, I think it's about replacing that in a way, but then everything that is creative, it's about enhancing and unleashing. It's actually supposed to be exciting right now.
Okay, has that, for you personally, do you feel that has there been any piece of AI or any kind of tech recently that really excited you?
There's so much AI that I use in my life. One part of the story that I mentioned today in the keynote is how everyone should be incorporating this in their personal lives, because then they have the eureka moment of, I could use this way in my career. I explain how all my meal plans basically are used with some kind of AI engine, and I make sure to use multimodal. I even mentioned that I took a picture of my fridge shelf once, and I said, what can I cook with what you see here? Often I buy a lot of foreign foods. Sometimes I forget what they are because I can read them, I go to a lot of Korean supermarkets and Chinese supermarkets, and I go home, I'm like, what is this again? And now with AI is amazing because I can tap into ingredients that I've never tried before and will guide me through that recipe. And doing that, it gives me ideas on how to create consumer experiences. You know what I mean? So it's all connected, using your personal life and how you start having ideas on how to use it at work.
Could you please recommend someone like me, a complete AI newbie, maybe some fun and interesting ways I could incorporate AI into my daily life? Like, do you have any tips for that?
Something that I mentioned today is like not all the AI is equal, right?
Right.
Each engine is created with an expertise. So to start understanding and playing with different things, one that I recommend is take a day and say to yourself, today, every time I want to, or a week, instead of using Google, use Perplexity.
Okay.
Just for you to see the difference of an
It's
AI
a search engine, right.
and a search engine with a little bit of AI and an AI only search engine.
Okay.
So you might like it, you might not. There's a lot of instances where Perplexity is so much better.
Okay.
And another thing that I recommend is going on Firefly, because a lot of the image generator AI are paid. Firefly is free, so Adobe Firefly, and create an image. And if you have ChatGPT account, take the same prompt that use a Firefly, copy and paste on DALL-E, which is the ChatGPT image generator. See the difference, and then you see how style is different, all of that. Last one that audiences tend to like is I use it a lot to replace manuals, right? Manuals for everything.
Okay.
Even like a furniture, like when you buy something and you don't know how to put it together, you can literally take a picture of the pieces and would guide you through it. The last example of this was I rented a car recently. It was a car I never drove before.
Okay.
I wanted to drive an electric car and all the Teslas were out. So I'm like, okay, I took a Kia electric and everything is different, like where the plug is and how it works. And I didn't spend any time looking for it. I took a picture of the whole car on ChatGPT and I said, how do I charge this? And how do I drive this?
Wow.
It took me through everything. The explanation was so detailed. And when I came home that night, I took the manual of my car out of the glove compartment to make extra space because we don't need this anymore.
Wow. Okay, you're making it sound like AI could fix my life, which probably isn't the best, impression that I should be.
You enhance all these things. They're like pain points. They're minor pain points. You can just remove it out of the way.
Okay. And would you say that it's something that, for example, someone like me who has hardly ever used AI, is it something that's accessible to the everyday consumer?
It's accessible to everybody. One thing that I've noticed, I've trained so many people, taking them through zero to understanding the foundations of AI. It's not an age thing, it's a mindset thing.
Yes, that's what I always tell my parents.
Mindset.
But they don't seem to get it. At this point, I'm convinced they're just trying to get me to do things for them, but it's perfectly fine.
So if you look at the industry today, and you see the revolution that's happening about AI and technology taking over so many areas, don't look at those in charge by the age that they have. Look at the behavior around the change that's happening around them. Are they curious? Are they asking questions? Do they have a paid ChatGPT account? Do they have the mobile version of it? Because it's a very different experience. Like multimodal, you can only do with your phone. You cannot really do well with a desktop as well. So that curiosity, that desire to learn is what you want to see in a leader today.
Right.
To be able to really take control of this AI opportunity and guide teams.
I think it's very important in your job, essentially.
Correct. Yeah. So we are not going to be replaced by AI. Many people have said this. We're going to be replaced by people that know AI.
Okay. It's good to know.
So let's get to know it.
It's a technicality. But on that note, I do think it's really interesting that you're in this beauty tech space. Like, tell me about your career trajectory. How did you get here?
It was unexpected that I ended up doing almost 15 years of work in the luxury space. I admire legacy brands a lot.
Okay.
But my passion wasn't, I want to be in luxury. My passion was I've always loved technology since a little girl. I've always been a techie girl. But I love knowing first. I'm that girlfriend that, I heard that from Liz. Like, I want to be calling and saying, did you see that thing? And I've always been like that. So being at the cutting edge and of what's new, or getting as close to the source as possible, took me to journalism, where I spent 10 years at.
Right.
And in journalism, I learned the ability to take something that's very complicated and make it understandable for everybody.
Yep, simplifying it,
and
essentially.
I brought that to technology, so that made it very special. And in 2010, I had the incredible honor to create something called Decoded Fashion, which was the bridge between tech and fashion, was the first event in the world that connected both worlds. Vogue was involved in that, so I was very happy to build that together. And it went from New York to London to Milan to Tokyo and eventually Singapore as well. And basically open up both worlds. Like Instagram at that time had 5 employees, and people learned about Instagram at Decoded Fashion.
Wow.
And to be able to decode, which was a word that I coined and I still love, one world to the other, and the world of tech. All the apps in 2012, there were magenta pink, the fashion apps created by men. Remember all those pink apps?
Yes, I remember.
And then they learned at Decoded Fashion that fashion is actually black, not pink. Like the apps started to be more black.
I think I remember
They
the
fixed the
transition.
fonts.
Yes. Do you remember when Instagram was like,
Yeah.
it was like a bright pink. It wasn't even like a muted one,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
So it was this crossover of knowledge. People in fashion getting their first tech jobs, people in tech understanding the world of fashion and retail, taking advisors from that world that created this revolution. I sold that company. That company was acquired. And then I created a group that all we did was innovation work for the luxury brands. So we were the team on the outside that took all the risk, that understood all these complex technologies, and proved that it works, so then it could become pilots for the consumer.
Right.
And we did that for some of the most of the fashion groups out there.
And I mean, right now you're in beauty tech, right? So
Correct.
there is that transition from fashion to beauty tech. What's the different kind of mindset you have to approach fashion tech and beauty tech, for instance?
So in the second company, when it was acquired again, I wanted to go in-house, and I wanted to understand what it's like to work just for one brand, because I've been serving the entire industry, and then a set group of clients. I wanted to get even granular. And then I thought about that. What's the difference between the world of fashion and beauty? And I noticed that the world of fashion, it's really about looking back, because it made me wonder why there's so much resistance every time I want to talk about innovation and new processes. But it's part of the process of fashion, of looking back for inspiration, of honoring legacy. There's all this legacy as foundation. And beauty behaves differently. Beauty always looks forward.
Yes.
And innovation, it's not if, it's there. It's not necessarily tech innovation, but product innovation creates that foundation of having that desire for the new. And constant change is normalized. So I found that was a more interesting ground to play. I wanted to experience that industry.
I think it's also because beauty has a lot to do with science and the formulation. So you're always kind of looking forward. Whereas for a lot of fashion brands, you like to pay homage to like the classics, right? So that's kind of like where's the difference lies, essentially, I feel.
But can I add to that? I feel that, yes, but all of us, that is this wishful thinking that I hope will become true quite soon.
Okay.
That fashion is going to be science, and maybe even science first. There's so much possibility to reach the goals that we have about sustainability. Like we have a tote here at the event today that captures carbon. You know what I mean? It's beyond recycled. It's actually something positive in the space, almost like kelp captures, right? CO2s. I feel that fashion could be a vehicle for a lot of science in a way that actually would grow the brands.
Right.
But I think it comes about that knowledge really coming through, new generations being more forward-looking, which we're starting to see.
Yeah, we definitely are, especially I feel in the Southeast Asian region. We're starting to see more and more of it. It's slow going, but it's happening.
Yes, it is happening.
Yeah, so that's so great to hear. But do you feel, for instance, there are any challenges or limitations when you're working in the beauty tech space?
I think innovation in general, when you talk about technology innovation, there is so much that you can do. And then when you zero in what you can do, you're always living in the storm of trends that's happening around you. When you go back 2022, it's 2024 now, we were living the metaverse trend. Remember that?
Yes, I do remember that actually.
And within that, 2021 was the NFT trend. So to be, I'm very, I really stick to a discipline of, it doesn't matter the storm of trend that's happening, the process is the same. Does this make sense to the strategy? What is it that technology actually is? Taking a moment to educate myself and come up to my own opinions. And when Metaverse was happening, to be able to go, by the way, and when I say was happening, it was the FOMO was happening. Metaverse is still happening.
Yes, it is.
This notion of digital realms, the evolution of gaming, the evolution of social media, like Roblox and Zepeto, it's a new way to engage, right? Those are fantastic channels to engage with. You asked about limitations. Limitation is budget, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
It's budget.
Yes.
Right now, brands should be creating their LLMs, right? The ability for them to have all their brand information and have consumers to have AI conversations only on reliable information that comes from them, but that costs some money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. Actually, to some money, you can do some of this a little cost effectively, but still, it's money. And on the metaverse, like Roblox, Zepeto, those platforms are wonderful if you're seeking younger consumers, digital first consumers, right?
Okay.
But they are very expensive.
Ooh.
And so I don't know how experimentation is going to open in that spaces for the entire fashion industry, because as it is right now, it's prohibitive.
Okay. That's a tricky line to tread, actually. Would you say that because of all of this and like holding the knowledge that you have right now, would you say that your approach to beauty tech innovations has altered very drastically over the last 5 years or so?
Yes, I feel that my journey in fashion was more reactive to the trends.
Okay, fair enough.
I think I rode FOMO a bit more.
Okay.
And in this beauty experience made me more strategic, and the tapping from within, and understanding that you can have wonderful brands doing very cutting edge things, and the press and the attention being given to them, and it does not mean that you have to follow.
Okay.
It needs to make business sense. It's okay to leave some innovations go by.
Right.
To focus on others. It's not okay not to do anything.
Yes.
But to pick the ones that make most sense and focus all your energy and drive that to a result.
Right. Okay.
Improve that result.
Yes, you have to do what works for you. You can't just keep blindly following what is...
And do it wholeheartly, right?
Do it wholeheartedly.
If you're going to test it and if you're going to put it out there, go all the way and prove it.
Right.
And measure how long do you take to prove it.
Okay.
And budget that, right? Because sometimes brands test something for a couple of weeks and say, oh, it works, it doesn't work. But it takes time.
Right.
And if you want to commit to it, just commit all the way.
If budget wasn't a constraint for you, and I mean, clearly you're a beauty girly yourself, what kind of AI would you like to see incorporated in the beauty sphere? It can be anything. We're talking blue sky thinking right here.
Yeah, no, I know. I keep thinking B2B, right? Because I have such a B2B mind. I keep thinking about how brands, how companies can work better with each other. I'm very annoyed by the way I market it to.
Oh, okay.
As a consumer, it really bugs me.
Okay.
I mentioned today that meme that is very known. I don't know if you have seen it. You have like King Charles and explaining how he's wealthy, he lives in the castle, he's British, and then you have Ozzy Osbourne, and it's the same demographics, and they're so different. They buy different products, they like different brands. They couldn't be further apart.
Yep.
But if you target them with demographics, they are the same consumer. The same way, I'm in my mid-40s, I'm a suburban mom with a dog and a house and a husband, but that's not who I am. That's just my demographics. It doesn't reflect my purchases.
Okay.
I have passion for extreme sports. There's all kinds of things that I like. I spend a lot on certain passions that I have, but I don't see myself marketed by those brands that I'm very passionate about.
Okay.
So there's a disconnect of that. I feel also a disconnect of loyalty, brands that I'm passionate about.
Okay.
Not tracking my loyalty to them.
Okay.
And across different channels, like the things I say in social, the stores that I go, because my data is all over the place.
Oh,
If I go
okay.
to purchase in Singapore and I go purchase in New York, they don't have single view. Almost
Okay.
nobody has single view of
That's
the customer.
true.
But if we start using tokens, which I'm very passionate about,
Okay. Elaborate.
tokenization, the good old NFTs.
Okay. I
They-
actually never grasped what an NFT was.
But that's okay because
Okay.
that iteration of it was more about a collectible phase of it. I'm
Right.
talking about something that businesses should be using and you shouldn't even worry about as a consumer.
Yes, because all I remember of NFTs, I'll be upfront with you, was like this piece of art. I swear it was a monkey or something. It was a monkey and it was eating a banana and it sold for like, I don't know, so much money. And I was
Correct.
very deeply confused. So please tell me
it's
more.
okay. If you're not that consumer that enjoyed collecting that moment in history in which
Okay.
NFTs were collectibles, it's completely fine. I'm passionate about, and I even wrote a thesis about that. I just finished a master's in blockchain and AI. It's because I'm passionate about this intersection in which AI is going to make us not know what to trust and to be drowned in data, right?
Yes.
And then blockchain can help us bring some order to the chaos.
Okay.
Understanding what is true and tracking the data that I need to know.
Okay.
So if you think about when I interact with you, I get a token on social media. When I buy a product, there's a token, and all those tokens are connected to me.
Okay.
You can now get to see my journey as a consumer with my okay given to you because there's a whole process of permission that's built on
Right.
that.
Okay.
And this way, also, what I love, we have a bridge between you brand and I consumer, that it's not an email, that it's not a phone number, because phone numbers change and I don't check emails. So I just feel like marketing needs to be revamped.
Right.
I'm seeing a lot of cool technologies. They're attempting to do that. I've never seen them to be this good. So I feel like 2025 is when I'm going to start seeing a lot of good stories
Okay.
around that.
Okay.
And big brands are starting to take notice in how to change marketing. The challenge is going to be the marketing teams getting the budget,
Getting the budget. No,
getting
and
the budget, the buy-in to
Yes.
be ahead instead of reacting to this.
Do you think that beyond budgets, like having to change people's mindset specifically, is that something that you worry about too? I mean, I'm not sure about in America, but I would say in Asia, yes, we do incorporate a lot of AI in a lot of our things and in a lot of beauty brands, but I do feel that it's still kind of a slow moving movement. And you have some bigger houses, for instance, they're a bit hesitant
Yeah.
to incorporate like AI tech in that. So do you foresee this being an issue, and how do you think you would address it?
I think AI is going to make the process of innovating a traditional brand easier.
Okay.
Because it would allow things to be understood and explained better. I feel that us tech innovators sometimes we do a poor job explaining the technology.
Okay.
And things sound a little convoluted when they shouldn't be. Another thing is sometimes we get too excited about the technology itself.
Right.
And we struggle to prove the business sense.
Yes.
So for someone who's traditional, that doesn't mind things getting better, that doesn't mind pushing for progress, but it's a little hesitant on a specific technology, maybe is the innovator not explaining that well. And that was the first phase of NFT. When you say, I didn't play with this, I was kind of lost.
Yep.
It wasn't a good consumer experience. And us who were building that, we know that.
Right.
It was our evolution of building something that is good. It was a moment in history. And now the tech is to a point that you don't have to worry about it. Like you'll be doing NFTs. You might be doing NFTs already and not realizing it. There are some concerts from Ticketmaster that are NFTs already.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of NFTs in sports and in government that's being rolled out a lot.
Okay.
In California, the car titles are being tested as NFTs.
Right. We're just unaware.
But they're
that
not
we're
even
using
calling it that, right?
Right.
These digital certificates, when you look at your Apple Wallet, you have these digital cards there.
Yes.
It's the same kind of thing. It should
Okay.
it should make sense. It should be seamless. You shouldn't need a manual.
Yes.
You shouldn't need ChatGPT to explain it to you.
Exactly, but I think that's such a huge barrier of entry for a lot of people, actually, like the average consumer maybe, or even like people who in Asia, I feel that, the rollout of tech tends to be a little bit slower just because people are a bit more hesitant about change, I feel. So I feel that if people are able to explain it to them in simpler terms, it will be more accepting of it.
And I think this is a moment that requires a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
And when I think about Asian markets, they are, people say Asia, right? As if it's a country. There's so many cultures. Like we're in Singapore.
Yes.
Like even what's like to be a Singaporean. Like there's so many flavors.
Yep.
There's so much nuance in that. And for you to navigate that as a market or as a product, it's really difficult. How can you market it?
Yes.
This is what AI does now. It creates a million bridges between cultures, right? So you can literally have a product in Chinese, in Mandarin, with a Mandarin label, and be able to market that product in Brazil. To be able to do how-to videos in a language and instantaneously have that seen in another. So I feel like even within APEC, you're going to see experimentation with AI on building bridges, on discovering products. We're seeing all kinds of new pockets. Like we have K-beauty, now we have T-beauty, like rising, right, in Thailand.
Yeah, C-beauty even, yeah.
That's true too. So when you see all this data coming, that's when AI thrives, because there's all kinds of experiences that we're not seeing right now that we are going to see in 2 seconds, like ways for you to discover things in a different way, for you to get the top 10 beauty products from different countries, like consumers, right? And it won't be ChatGPT itself.
Okay.
Because ChatGPT, there's so much data there. It's going to be specialized apps.
Okay.
That people will build for the specific needs.
Right.
Imagine all those futuristic things that we've been waiting for, to be able to get ideas for outfits, get makeup looks, get tutorials, and get it now and get it in my language. Now it's like unleashed. We have this wonderful gala here at Vogue, and I was just blocked. It was a very busy week, and I couldn't really think of an outfit.
Right.
And Vogue Singapore created this fantastic brief for what's the vibe of the event.
Yes.
I uploaded the brief.
That.
I took a few pictures of items that I liked in my closet, and ChatGPT created a styling plan for me, suggesting products that I didn't have.
Okay. Very intriguing.
Whoa.
Yes, very well. This is giving 1995 Clueless.
It's so Clueless.
Yeah, Clueless, that whole wardrobe scene, that's essentially my
But
dream.
we've been here waiting for a tech company to create Clueless, right?
Yes.
There will be apps that will make Clueless more fun, but if we want to bring piece of Clueless to life right now, we already have what we need to do it.
I know, but it's just that it doesn't occur to people. I think it's because of the lack of awareness, or maybe like people are just not being fed the right information. Like it would never occur to me to go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, give me a styling
Gotta upload
suggestion.
the brief, so multimodal.
Like it would just not occur to me. Yeah, so this is very interesting for me to hear.
It was
honestly.
3 different pieces of media. That's why multimodal is so interesting for you to play with.
Okay.
I uploaded the brief, which is a PDF.
Okay.
I took a picture of closet items, so photos. And I talked to it, voice.
Oh, okay. So
it was like a conversation.
Okay. Very interesting. Honestly, this is
There was a robot in my closet.
Yeah, it's kind of blowing my mind right now because none of this has ever occurred to me. Yeah, so this is very interesting. Okay, so
that's why I think the piece of homework that everybody should have at this moment that we're living right now is, regardless of your industry, use this in your life so you can gain an understanding, right? Use GPT for everyday tasks. When you're doing deep research, when you want to go into books and journals, use Claude. When you want to search the web, use Perplexity. So you can see the different flavors. If you're writing an essay and you don't want to get in trouble with using AI, use Grammarly, which is good to use.
Yes, exactly.
It's proper and it follows all the rules, and it's still great AI editing. When you start using that in your everyday life, you start getting ideas on how you can enhance yourself as a professional.
Right.
And also gives you awareness of how this data that you're giving is information about you that should have a certain boundary.
Yes.
Right? At the end of my talk, I mentioned a prompt. Like, I've been talking to GPT for quite a while. Where our relationship, it's like almost 2 years old now.
Wow.
And I asked the engine. It was an idea that a friend of mine in retail had, and he shared with us a couple of days ago. Ask the engine to tell you something about yourself that he thinks you didn't realize.
Oh my gosh. That is frightening.
And I'm like, sure, I'll ask. And, and I put the prompt there. It was wild.
What did it, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure.
What did it say?
It pulled together all the conversations I had about my children, because I asked things about school, about their lives, and now my oldest is going through college.
Okay.
So the colleges that we should visit, her interests. And I just trained for a marathon, so all the sports stuff, and then all the research I do for work.
Right.
And it pieced one person together. It said that it seems that everything that you do in your life, you try to weave purpose into it. It seems that whatever job you have, wherever you go, you want to make sure that to be right for you, it needs to have greater purpose. It needs to be helping others.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa. And it said, don't lose sight of that.
Right.
So I feel that this engine could be really good for you to use it also for mental health and self-help, and that pick me up when you're not feeling, when you're missing on your value, you're missing on that message. And also to be careful that certain personal information shouldn't be put in there.
Definitely.
Right? It's going somewhere. It's not poof. When you create another, we talk about how each conversation with GPT is a different thread, right? And you should have different threads with different conversations. Sure. But you can open one and ask across everything you ever taught. Then tell me.
It keeps the data,
the
right?
data is there.
Records
so the awareness of that, I think, is an important lesson as well.
Wow. Did you feel very perceived when you were seeing what ChatGPT had to
Yeah,
say?
I felt perceived, joy, and then I got freaked out. So it was like all the stages of AI.
It was like a roller coaster. You're like, oh my gosh. I love that for you though. Like, that's interesting.
I get worried about, I talked a lot about self-education today. I get worried about people not using this the right way. And it's more about disclosing confidential information from companies. I think companies have been really good at explaining that, how you have to be careful.
Yes.
But how about yourself?
Yes. How about yourself? Yeah. I think it's difficult sometimes, especially when you rely on ChatGPT so much. It kind of feels like a friend, right? So you feel that you can confide a lot of information in there, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what is the information that you need to safeguard. Yeah.
We're going to see two kinds of people emerging.
Okay.
We're going to see the people tapping into AI for these moments.
Okay.
But really understanding the limit.
Okay.
And valuing the human connection much, 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 much more.
Okay.
And you're going to see, of course, people misusing AI and trying to seek that companionship there and never really getting it. Right?
Kind of giving her.
Yes, never really getting it.
Yep.
And then that sadness will still remain. But I feel that this moment of a lot of technology around us is bringing a lot of non-technology. There has been growth in a lot of people going to nature. There's a lot of ikigai going on.
Yes.
There is a growth in women and sports taking care of their health. There is growth in communities and groups. I feel that everything works. But there's always like an innate hunger for balance. I think it's part of humanity.
Nature is healing.
So when we see technology overcoming, like becoming like overbearing,
right?
We seek balance in another way.
Right.
I also see how yeah, we do have the alpha kids being called the iPad kids.
They really are bad kids. I swear.
I know, but there's also behaviors in Gen Z and Alpha. They're very healthy. The way that they engage with content,
Yep.
it's healthier than us.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Us. That is a loss of innocence that happen in these children. Like, they don't trust everything they see.
Yeah.
My 11-year-old, she really understands generative AI really well. Before I could explain, it's like, Mom, I don't know if this is real, so I'm not going to react to this. I'm like, whoa.
Wow. Oh my God.
Can you tell that to grandma?
Ooh. No, that's going to be a lot of a harder process.
And
I would
data,
think.
like understanding like all the phishing, all the they surrounded by all bombarded by all this data.
Yeah.
They can be on iPad a lot, but they also, I've seen that they also know how to turn it off.
They're smarter about it, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, like not so much. I think during our time, it was just less awareness and less information about how to protect yourself as well.
And even the silliest of the trends that are not good for them,
Yeah.
like little kids going to Sephora and buying drunk elephant
Yes.
to put on their faces, which is funny because even Sephora executives are saying, don't do that. Not good for your face. If that's the worst thing that they're doing,
It's not that bad.
It's not that
Yeah,
bad
it's not that
because
bad.
it signifies the desire for self-care.
Yes.
It's such a positive thing. If you go back to the early 2000s and 90s and
Oh,
80s,
gosh.
the trends, the teenage trends, they were not good.
Oh, they were horrific.
For self-esteem.
Yeah. Do you remember heroin chic? Was it heroin chic? Ooh, that was bad.
Or just low-cut jeans.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
it's
that's
just-
bad. There's some things
not
that
good.
shouldn't come back. Low-cut jeans is definitely one of them. But thank you so much for sharing your insights. This has been great. I think a really fun way to wrap this up, maybe you could tell us what is the very last thing you input into ChatGPT today?
Oh my gosh. Yes, the very last thing was I have 4 hours in Singapore that I'm completely free. Where do I find the best spicy crab?
Oh my gosh, what did ChatGPT say? Because
I'm not going to say the answer because I don't want to offend the ones they didn't mention.
but
But it told me that I'm going.
no, tell me because maybe I know more. Maybe I know better than ChatGPT.
I'm going to show it to you. And
Okay.
because I value human input more than machine,
Yes.
I would take your expertise over it.
Thank you. I am very glad. I've lived here my whole life. So
Exactly.
it's
So
likely
I would
would know
trust you.
better.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
for
on to
having me.
this. Thank you, Liz.